Of the press, and welcome to another edition of our weekly press briefing. We want to welcome all of you to this weekly press briefing, and at an unusual location. Normally we do our weekly press briefings on Fridays at the Executive Mansion. Today we are coming to you live from the EJS Ministerial Complex here in Conga Town, Monrovia. Welcome, however you are listening, however you are viewing this program, we want to say welcome to all of you. As we've said, the regular weekly press briefing of the Executive Mansion gives the country an opportunity to understand and know what's happening at the Executive Mansion. And this is a way that the President has expressed his interest in having an open government and Liberian people, the Liberian community, be aware of what he is doing here at the Executive Mansion. When I say here, understand is the presidency, wherever it goes, that's the Executive Mansion. With that said, today we are coming to you from the EJS Ministerial Complex because we are currently undergoing the cabinet retreat, President Boakai's first cabinet retreat here, and now the retreat has broken down, particularly just for a period for lunch, and that's why we're here to give you this quick briefing. The President week have really been very busy. He's had a busy week meeting with a number of different groups, and I'd like to start to let you know, or you all remember that during the course of the week, he had a very important meeting with the rice importers to talk about the situation in regards to the increment that they had requested on the Indian parboil. And that meeting ended with the President not accepting the request and requesting them, especially having understood all of the situation that the importers had expressed prior to the meeting, that there was there's not going to be any form of increment in the price of the Indian parboil rice. The President also have had, during the course of the week, a meeting with the General Auditing Commission. He was briefed about the number of ongoing audits that the GAC is undertaking, and those updates, particularly on some of the audits that are almost to completion and the others that are to be completed very soon, as well as more requests from institutions of government to understand the situation of the different institutions, particularly the government agencies. He also had a meeting with the Commercial Bankers Association. In that meeting, the Bankers Association, they were able to brief the President about the current happening within the association, the challenges that it comes with resources and monies, but more so, they all expressed their congratulations to the level of which the government have started working, but more so to His Excellency, and promise their continuous support and their continuous working relationship with the government, particularly through the development of more cordial relationship with the President as well as his economic management team. As we know, the banking sector in every country play a key role, and all of the commercial bankers, they were here. I mean, when I say here, I mean the Executive Mansion, having an engagement with the President. He also had a serious meeting and received updates from the Assets Recovery and Property Retrieval Task Force. That task force that is headed by Councillor Claire Martin and his team. They briefed the President on the current workings and the challenges they've had, however, the progress they've made, and how they are continuing that work. His Excellency was very impressed by the level of which they've gone, how far they've worked, what information they've been able to gather. And it is important to let the public know that the Assets Recovery and Property Retrieval Task Force is still active, is still working, and they still enjoy the workings of the government, particularly the President. And as you know, today we're continuing the cabinet retreat, the President's first cabinet retreat that started on yesterday, where the President spoke to the country, giving a speech talking about the need for government, especially officials of government, to take their job very seriously and contribute to the development of the country in their particular sectors. And we've had presentations from the different line agencies. We had presentation from the Ministry of Agriculture earlier on, and we will also have presentation going forward. We had presentation from the Ministry of Health, the LDEA, as well as the Ministry of Youth and Sports on progress made so far as it relates to the President's work that he instituted during his first annual message on the issue of drugs and alcohol addiction. And that presentation was done collectively. In addition to those presentations, there were also presentations yesterday from the Civil Service Agency talking about the progress they've made so far within the agency and how they intend to ensure that the civil service is brought up to standards, something that is going to save the government, save the country in terms of resources that the government is spending on people who may not necessarily be properly in the employ of government. There were presentations also made on a number of different areas, and most importantly, like I've mentioned, the agricultural plan was talked about, and the budget plan, how the processes leading to the budget, but also receiving support through budgetary allocations. Also, LRA was here and made her own presentation on revenue generation, the opportunities that are there, and the challenges as well. But more importantly, on looking ahead, how can LRA receive more resources in terms of helping the government to implement the government development agenda. There's a specific section also talking about the government's development plan, that is their REST agenda, and a whole conversation on going forward to the new development plan, which the Ministry of Finance also did, talking about developing a plan that will culminate into what specifics that the government is going to implement for this period after the arrest agenda has already been developed and ongoing. So specific sector, talking about timeline, talking about how that's going to be developed. And this retreat will continue until tomorrow, where we will have our development partners to come and make a presentation, but particularly the World Bank is expected here tomorrow to come and also talk about some of the development initiatives that they've been working on, especially in partnership with the government. Earlier yesterday, we also had presentation from NDI, the National Democratic Institute. That institute also talked about the different roles and programs when it comes to communication and coordinations in government and how that can help in the achievement of the president's vision for the country, particularly the arrest agenda. So those are the things that have been happening during the course of the week. As we go along, we'll give you more updates but then again, thank you all for coming to our regular press briefings, and we will endeavor to inform you and keep you all abreast with happenings of the executive mansion, particularly the presidency. Thank you, and we'll take a moment for a few questions. If you have a question, you raise your hand, you ask a question, your name, your institution, and ask your question. Please be succinct and to the point. As you know, we have limited time. Thank you very much. Thanks for all those who are viewing this and listening to the press briefing as always. Thank you.
Kula Fofana is the press secretary, presidential press secretary. I'm right here in the regular press briefing on the executive mansion online platform and questions.
I have the office of the president to do on the site or on the field inspection, talking about the increase of rights, particularly during the days of interventions of particular issues. There are some people who are still hacking the rights of rights, and their plans from the office of the president to do some inspection on the field and to take some actions if necessary. Thank you.
All right, questions will continue. It's right here live, and if you're viewing, welcome.
Thank you, President. My name is Moses, and I report for the University of Liberia. We earlier on mentioned that the Asset Recovery Task Force met with the President and is satisfied with the work done so far. He cared to share with us what are some of the successes he shared with the president, with which he's satisfied. Another thing, earlier on we saw a communication from on the executive mansion's page suspending the executive order number 126. It's currently in that executive mansion as statement released by the executive mansion. The president is quoted as asking people as custom officers to allow Liberian local farmers access to and fro with their products. My question is, we also have other local corporations or institutions not merely own Liberians. What happened to those of them who have processed the rubber, but were not able to export them due to the executive order? Thank you.
Questions will continue. And if you're there viewing,
Any more questions?
Okay, thank you very much for those very important questions. I will endeavor to answer them very quickly. But thank you for bringing that up on the issue of the EO that was just that was published by the executive mansion. Just give me a sec. I wanted to provide more information on that. In addition to, I will answer the other question. I'll come to your question on rubber. On the question of increased prices on the market, as you know, when the president had a meeting with the with the rice importers, and then there was also a release from the executive mansion that specifically talked about the Ministry of Commerce, the Ministry of Justice, and the security agencies to specifically review and monitor the situation of what's going on in the country. And it is the president's understanding that the Ministry of Commerce and Industry, the task force is on that, and they should be able to monitor what's going on the market and appropriately inform the president, because the president mandate and the president directives are very important to be followed. So yes, the president, there is the expectation, and the president did say in the press release that was published to the public. So that should be an issue. So if for any reason that people are still hoarding the particular rice, or the price are still higher than what it is approved, it's important that whoever has such an information to forward the information to the Ministry of Commerce and Industries, and also the Liberian National Police, because that was a very clear mandate coming from the executive mansion. On the question of the successes of the Assets Recovery and Property Retrieval Task Force, there are some issues that are of security nature that I wouldn't be disclosing here, but what I can tell you is that they have done some extensive work, and they've gathered some relevant information, and they've done a lot of different work, and the president did tell them of his support, especially in light of what the president is always saying, that in government, yes, it's continuity, but sometimes when people are leaving the government or political offices and you come to a new office, there are no computers, there are no chairs. So every government must come and buy new properties such as computers and vehicles and whatnot. Is costing the government a lot of resources. And he did inform the assets recovery team to really ensure that those, important assets of government must be retrieved. And people who still are in possession of government properties and have not returned them, they should do that, because the assets recovery and property retrieval team is currently working. And yes, here today, they are going to also do a presentation of the current situation. So on the issue of the rubber exploitation, yes, His Excellency President Buakai has signed Executive Order 132 on the exploitation of rubber, especially natural and processed rubber. and the ban is lifted for 60 days, that is for 2 months, so that people are able to export their rubber. The executive order is posted on the executive mansion platforms, so it's important that those interested in a particular sector should kindly follow up and read through them. I'd like to say again, thank you all so much for, oh, we have one more question. Yes, quickly, Spoon.
Okay, thank you. So that's the two place I work for, the Spoon and work. Secretary, quickly. About 3 weeks ago, the president ordered the closure of Western Cluster in Parliament. We get to report that Western Cluster is still operating mainly at night. Where are we exactly with the president's order?
Very good question. Actually, the president, the information is not that the president ordered the closure of Western Cluster. Yes, he did mention before 3 weeks ago that all institutions, particularly companies who are operating in Liberia and are not living up to what the Mineral Development Agreement says, he will take some action on them. And on the issue of Western Cluster, particularly the road user permit was suspended by directive of the president through the Ministry of Public Works. And that road user permit is still being suspended, and Western Cluster is barred from using the road until they can follow up with what they're supposed to do. And I think this is an important information that you've provided, that they're using the road at night. It's good that the Ministry of Public Works can verify the information and follow up and take some specific actions. But yes, whatever the president has said, it is important that that is, followed through. So again, the Ministry of Public Works will be informed appropriately and hoping that they will take the necessary actions. So thank you all so much for coming to our regular press briefing on Fridays. Unfortunately, we're not in the confines of the executive mansion, but wherever the president is, by extension, that's the executive mansion. So thank you until we see you next Friday. It's a pleasure. Have a wonderful Friday. Thank you very much.
Quick question. Do you still need EFBC here?
With clarification updates on the president's activities. Thanks for viewing. Thanks for viewing wherever you are. Thanks for your comments. On behalf of the entire team, I'm Emmanuel Kipper. Pleasant day.